L'chaim, to life and to blessings. So all those that think or feel that they're righteous, please stand up. What's going on? Why is everybody sitting? You're just lazy. You don't want to get up. Or you're humble. You don't want to show yourselves too humble. The word righteous, tzaddik in Hebrew, is a very misconstrued, misunderstood term. If you did something right, you're righteous. If you went to court and you won the court case, you're righteous. So does that make you righteous? It makes maybe the court case that you won righteous. It makes maybe the issue at hand between two people and you're righteous and therefore vindicated. But that doesn't describe the person. It just describes a situation. In a situation, you may be vindicated and therefore righteous. That doesn't make you righteous, though. Why not? Why not? After all, you stand on the right side of things. Why wouldn't that make you righteous? Because what we've learned in Tanya, and actually in the first chapter already, is that righteous is a state of being. It's not about a particular way to act, right? It's not about a particular way to act. It's a state of being. And that's actually unique, right? Definition. A friend of mine, Dr. Brower, when he became religious, was not through Chabad, with the Boston Rebbe. And after he started learning Chabad Tanya teachings, he went to his teacher, to the Boston Rebbe. He says, Rebbe, I don't think you're righteous according to what the Tanya says, which we're going to learn shortly. He wasn't happy with that statement from his student. So, well, there are many different definitions of what righteous is. And that's true. That's true. But Tanya teaches us what's mamish, what's like, the core, what's the fundamental, as opposed to a peripheral kind of explanation of the righteous. Welcome to Tanya Today. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you Chabad Zich in Kadesh in Montreal, Canada, where it's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. L'chaim. We're chapter 10. We're really journeying. We're trucking. You got to keep with us day in, day out. Otherwise, you can slip up. It's very icy out there. You got to keep up with the trek. L'chaim. The first 8 chapters, we learned about who we are, godly soul, animal soul. And then we finished yesterday, chapter 9. That introduced us to what life is all about. In one word, what was chapter 9?
Battle.
Battle. Life's a battle. We were never promised a rose garden. It's not an easy walk through life. And if it's an easy walk through life, well, either then stand up now and be righteous, or you are. But it's not an easy walk through life. There's a battle, and the battle is not from without, with others, or with our situation. It's within us, between two combatants, animal soul and godly soul. Now, very clear, let's make no mistake about it. For the most part, people don't battle because they live on autopilot with their animal soul. What is their instinctual, natural voice that they hear? And that voice that we hear is, what's good for me? What's good for me? That doesn't have to be a bad thing, but it's all about me. Could be a, refinement of the animal soul, but it's still the animal and me talking. Rather than the divine soul, that's what's God need from me? Oh, that's a different question. That's a different question. Now, they may align, they may not align, but it's irrelevant. Divine soul is, what's God need from me? Oh, what's that voice saying to me? And of course, there needs to be great honesty. So there's going to be a battle between the two, as we have explained. Now, the person, chapter 10 now, and in one word, chapter 10 is tzaddik, righteous. We're going to learn about the righteous now. Don't prematurely stand up thinking you fit the bill, as you'll see. The righteous is the one whose divine soul prevails over the animal soul, who wages the war to the extent, guess what happens to the animal soul? It's been banished. It's been eradicated. Where is the animal soul? In the left ventricle of the heart, right? Metaphysically, not physically, right? And it's been gone, eradicated. As the verse says, and you shall eradicate the evil from your midst. So the deeper meaning of that verse in Deuteronomy is in the midst of me, eradicated, right? The simple meaning is in the midst of, in the land of Canaan, right? The deeper meaning is means within me, right? Now, if one achieves this goal, but finds that the evil nevertheless has not been actually converted to good. So, in other words, there's evil inside. It's been banished, but hasn't been converted to good. Ooh, has the darkness been converted to light? Right? So if it hasn't been converted entirely to light, then that's a righteous person, but not complete. Incomplete righteous person. Why? Because there's still evil that lingers in them. Where does it linger, by the way? Anybody? Where does it linger? In the heart. What does it mean that it lingers in the heart? It means if they think it, guess what? They're not righteous. Because to think evil is already a sign that you're not righteous. Right? It might be a sign that you are a Beinoni because you'll deal with that struggle. But that's a struggle already. The fact that it lingers doesn't mean you struggle with it. It means it's lingering in your heart, right? In the recesses of your heart. Because if it actually expressed itself in a thought right away, that means that person's not righteous. Period. Hard. Period there, right? Period. Not righteous. Whoa. Which, by the way, just parenthetically, I'm saying this, without Torah, it's impossible to become righteous according to what Tanya says. Not possible. Because every human being has a negative thought, except for the righteous of Torah. Because the power that the Torah gives them, it's possible that they can actually refine themselves, as we will see. right? But it is that incomplete righteous person, it's there within them. If it completely would have disappeared, then it would have been converted into only good. So let's explain this. Let's go to the complete tzaddik. Who's the complete tzaddik? Complete righteous person is someone, the negative force within them, the animal soul, has been completely converted to good. Therefore, they only know good. In other words, the negativity has been completely transformed. What does it mean? How do you understand that? It means that the righteous despise anything that's not about a connection to God. Right? They don't despise a person. They despise the idea that you would, have a coffee for pleasure. Because that's not connecting to God. So they actually despise that. Right? That you're going to have a coffee for your, to have for self-gratification. Now, why would they despise it? Why? How come? What's the understanding? I mean, what's so bad about having some coffee? It's because what's animating the coffee? Klipa. And if you're just having for your own satisfaction, that's an experience that's disconnected from God. Right? You're not Attila the Hun. You're not Hamas. You're not a embodiment of evil. Right? But that's evil for the righteous. Right? Because there's no connection to God. They despise that. Because again, it's klipa, the antithesis of holiness. Right? Why would they hate it though? Because they love God so much and the connection with God that anything that's not about a connection to God is the antithesis. And therefore they hate that. Love and hate have to come together. Right? They have to come together. If you really love your child, you hate any harm that would come to them. Right? You would hate any harm that would come to them. If you only love your child and don't hate of something that would be harmful to them, that means you don't really love them complete. It's not complete. Right? Fine.
If you love something, you have to hate the opposite.
Yep, exactly. You have to hate the opposite. Exactly. So, because their love of God is so complete, a love of delight, they delight in God, not because God gives them anything in their life, but God gives them everything, because God is the only reality for them. And since klipa is antithetical to that, therefore they hate it completely. And this is what King David writes in Tehillim in Psalms. I hate them with a consuming hatred. Those who oppose God, they have become enemies to me. Search me and know my heart, that my heart is only about for God, and therefore anything that is against God is then my enemy. Right? So the more you love God in this manner, again, not what God gives you in your life, because that's loving what God gives you. That's not loving God. That's not delighting in God, right? The more that is absolute, the more the hatred will be absolute. Does that make sense? Is that clear? That is a complete righteous person, a complete righteous individual. It means that they have became, yes. You're born with a possibility of becoming righteous for those who have the capacity, but it's something you need to become, right? Something you become. Huh?
There, no one is born righteous.
No, well, the difference is that we're born with not the capability of becoming righteous, as we'll learn. We'll learn, right? Few are born with the capability of becoming righteous. We'll learn that more tomorrow. Okay. So this is the complete righteous individual. So they only know good because the evil within them, the negativity within them has completely been transformed. Which is, wow. The incomplete righteous, on the other hand, it means that their hatred for the negativity is not absolute because the love is not absolute. Right? I mean, this is quite a phenomenal level. It will not have any self-expression because if it has self-expression, which is the garments of the soul, right? Meaning thought, speech, or action, then by definition, they are not righteous, not even incomplete, because there is an expression of it. In other words, it's lingering in the heart deep down in some place, right? That it's mainly, the negativity is mainly subjugated rather, to the good, to the divine, but it's not completely surrendered. And therefore, there's some inkling deep down of where they appreciate something outside of God as an end in itself. They probably might not even be aware of it, by the way, because we're talking about subconscious, right? It's in the subconscious heart. It's not in the, if it's conscious, that means you're thinking it. You're thinking it, you're not righteous anymore. Or you're never righteous to begin with, actually. Not anymore. You were never righteous to begin with. That's the incomplete. So that for us to know the difference between the two, impossible. Why? How come? Because there's nothing that we'll see on the outside of this person in their actions, in their words, and we don't know their thoughts, right? So we would never know the difference, us on the outside.
Behavior wise, they're the same, side by side.
Yeah.
Complete righteous and
the incomplete righteous are, yeah, behavior wise for sure. We're talking about deep down in their soul, the animal soul, has it been converted completely to good? Or is it surrendered for the most part to the divine, but not completely, right? Not completely. And that's, again, on a subconscious emotional level that might not even be, we'll see where we're going with this, and see where we're going with this. But whoa, that's like beyond. Beyond. All right. Any questions? Any thoughts on this? Any comments?
Thinking maybe the difference would be one spreads more light than the other, the one who transforms everything into light.
Well, wait.
Light.
You must be righteous. That's why you're talking this way, huh? Takes one to know one. Well, what you're saying there's a truth to it, but that's because that's actions that you're talking about, right? That's actions, right? So it's more than that, but there's a truth to what you're saying. Okay, Henya, is it helpful to have compassion despite the behavior at some time? I'm not clear how that fits in over here. Compassion can be a very good thing, and it's right time, absolutely.
The capability to see like the light inside others or the darkness. Is it bring this faculty of seeing the righteous person and the one is not? Like the kavanah behind the action of someone. Because sometimes someone's do action and behind the kavanah is not aligned, and we can feel it.
You know, if you're talking about righteous people, their kavanah is definitely aligned. Because kavanah is, because what's kavanah? Where your mind is, right? And what your intention is, and their intention is for sure to connect to Hashem, to cleave to Hashem. There's no question about that, right? That is where they're at in their heart too. We're talking about a very, minute insignificance we will never be able to perceive and to appreciate and to understand. Oh, yeah, 100%. And the righteous, again, to know the righteous is to be the righteous. Otherwise, there's a famous story with the Ruzhner Rebbe, who was a great grandson of the Baal Shem Tov, who was a very holy man. The Ruzhner Rebbe, I've mentioned him before. He was the real 5-year-old in Chumash. When he would study with his teacher when he was 5 years old, he would study the verse in Torah, and then he would ask a question. Oh, and his teacher said, "Oh, Rashi answers." He had the question, right? Of what? So a holy man. And once one of his simple Hasidim came to him and said, "Rebbe, just learned, and the Talmud tells us there's 36 hidden righteous people. You're not one of them, because everybody knows you're righteous." So you're not a hidden righteous. So he said, "Woe unto me if my righteousness is what you see." What we see is where we're coming from. And where we're coming from is not a righteous place. And therefore, we're coming with our stuff. So we're seeing through our lens. So when we see a righteous, we're seeing nothing of really who they are. Because we're just seeing them, in their behavior, in the way they talk, the way they walk. That's all, that's all behavior. The righteous is so much more profound and deeper that we have no access to it. Right? Again, if we did, we would be. Yedaiti, if I would know, I would be. So how do we speak about it? What right do we have to speak about it? Because the Alter Rebbe is speaking about it in Tanya, so therefore we can speak about the righteous. Otherwise, what we do? Just we be quiet. What do we know? It's all conjecture from a place that we're coming from, which is, is not exactly the righteous place. That makes sense?
Can a righteous person, so this is become less righteous, as example, King Shaul. So he seems to, have been denigrated, like he was starting well, but then it flipped. Did he lose?
Righteous doesn't mean you're perfect. Only God's perfect. Righteous means that you didn't make a mistake as a sin, but that doesn't mean there isn't greater heights to achieve, greater things, to achieve. So it's not a contradiction. Okay. Vicky is asking, how can hate be righteous when God is love? Vicky, when did you decide God is love? Like, where's that come from? I know where it comes from. It doesn't come from Judaism, right? And that's a big mistake. God is love? What does that mean? God is beyond anything and everything. Love comes from God, absolutely, right? But love is a human term. God is that's a human term. So we have to be careful to define God in human terms. Is love come from God? Absolutely, it does. No question about it. Is God defined by love? Oh, really? How does God get defined by love? Who did that? Who did that? God defined himself that way? Tell me where. Where did he do? Humans do that because they got mixed up with the Beatles. All you need is love. It's a mistake. No. Or you got mixed up with another religion, which is a mistake to say that.
God is not love.
No. Does love come from God? Absolutely. Right? God is God. He's transcendent of everything. He expresses himself with love. He also expresses himself with discipline. He also expresses himself with gvura, with strength, right? Sometimes compassion. Compassion is not love. Right? Sometimes enduring, sometimes it's kingship, all different things. And as we explained, Vicky, earlier, if you have a child and you love them and you don't hate anything that would be harmful to them, then you don't really love them. Right? Because the two things come together. They have to come together. The connection is not just love. No, it's not just love. Again, in any case. No, we need to learn Tanya and to be open up to what Tanya teaches us so we can have a deeper understanding. I'm not mitigating the love, don't get me wrong. But we have to be careful to make it all, right? Because then there's, God has 10 divine attributes, and love is chesed, is loving kindness, is one of the 10. We have to be careful that, we are limiting God. Okay. All right, folks. Thank you very much. We're going to continue with Rambam and actually Chumash for those who'd like. All right.
Created us in his image. We don't get to create God, so to speak, in our image.
Exactly.
Our preferences.
Right.
Of course, we would